DNJ's Epic Quest. DNJ's Epic Quest. DNJ's Epic Quest. DNJ's Epic Quest. DNJ's Epic.
Hey everybody, welcome back to D&J's Epic Quest. D-Hole here with his good buddy
Jug.
Tits McGee.
What? Huh?
Isn't that Anchorman?
I think so. I'm not a big fan of Will Ferrell in solo movies. He's great as a side character, but I just can't. Like old school, I fucking love old school. But he's not the main character.
I don't know. I don't think Elf is that great. There's my opinion. It's
That's
fine.
great. I agree with you 100%. I get to watch
It's
it every
fine.
Christmas Eve, but I don't.
It's,
I'm
it's
like,
fine. It's okay. But it's not like amazing.
there's my point.
Coming on with the hot takes here right off the bat.
We're gonna lose some followers for that one.
If they're Will Ferrell fans and if he's listening for some odd reason, then I guess he's probably out now too. But
You think Will Ferrell is reading Malazan?
no, I don't. Maybe he just stumbled across us somehow.
Right. Yeah, we show up in some AI Google search of his name.
Well, we are your favorite Malazan chapter by chapter podcast done by first time readers, because that is what we are. I'm going to shout that from like the rooftops, like every time here again, because
I
I'm
love it.
pretty confident we are the only first time readers doing this chapter by chapter. So far as I know.
And if there are other podcasts that are first time readers of this wonderful and intricate world of Malazan, please hit us up. We'd love to collab.
Yes, I would like to know about them because I would like to listen to their stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
No spoilers. They don't know
Right.
what's coming. Just kidding.
Yeah, well, I guess I don't know if we're further ahead or they are. Who knows?
That's fair. That's fair. I mean, we're halfway, right? We're halfway through the main 10.
Well, once we finish this book.
Well, we're halfway to finishing halfway through the series.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Well, we were talking a bit here before we started recording, so should we just jump into the patrons here?
Let's do it, man. Let's give them what they need.
They need electrolytes.
Yeah, I know.
Oh,
Trying to remember
good. Oh, God. What was it?
Why can't I remember this?
Idiocracy.
Idiocracy. Thank you. The only comedy turned documentary
or something. Yeah. Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. We've got Jan the Picker, Luciana Etrigan, Ryan the Topological, Damien Face in the Rock, Nate Fiddle Me This, Shield Anvil Dylan, Kelvin He Who Witnessed, Livia the Malazan Potato, Aaron Mott Irregular, Scott the Only, Graceless Passion, Dead Smell, Gestriant, My Own Genesis, Alex the High Mage, Tyler the Great Raven, The Joyful Union, Tony the Watch, Steve Bottle Kegs, The Mortal Sam, John I'd Kill the Mule, Talk the Middle Child, Peter, and Turin I Have Kittens. And as always, you memorize that. If you would like to hear your name called with all these other lovely people, check out our Patreon. Hit us up. You can get a free week, see behind the scenes stuff, videos, that type of thing. Because typically it's just the audio that gets released. So if you want to see our stupid faces, that's the place to go. My stupid face, not Justin's.
I don't know. I think I'm in agreement with you. I think we share
My face is
faces.
stupid? Oh, okay.
Wow. That's not what I was going to say.
You walked right into it.
This is usually what I do. Yeah. This is usually what happens. I walk right into it and I somehow end up unscathed.
Yep, your face is intact.
Right. For sure. All right. So for the subbook, book number 3, All That Lies Unseen, the man who never smiles drags his nets through the deep, and we are gathered to gape in the drowning air beneath the buffeting sound, his dreaded voice. Speaking of salvation in the repasts of justice done, and fed well on a laden table heaped with noble desires. He tells us all this to hone the edge of his eternal mercy, slicing our bellies open one by one. In the kingdom of meaning well, Fisher Keltoth.
I don't know, man. Slicing bellies open one by one doesn't sound like you mean well.
I mean, and apparently that's mercy, right?
I mean, I'd rather you just cut my head off, I guess. That would be more merciful to me. But all right, the epigraph for chapter 12. The frog atop the stack of coins dares not jump. Poor Umir's sayings. Anonymous. Then he gets down from the coins as he jumps.
I think it's interesting to think about that visually.
Yeah. Small frog or a big stack of coins or a combination.
It makes me think of unstable. And you're in a predicament position, right? Like, why are you on top of a coin stack?
It's
And
going
why?
to topple.
Right. That you know it's going to fall because you can feel how unstable it is. Is this like a euphemism of the Edur and how unstable they might be? Especially after Rulad claiming himself as an emperor?
Maybe they will be more stable with him as an emperor.
No.
He will rule with an iron fist.
Nope.
I was texting back and forth with Dylan a little bit, and he thinks that I may not end up hating Rulad that much. So that'll be interesting to see, which also gives me a little bit of reassurance that I might be fucking right, that Rulad is just awesome.
Interesting. Fair enough. I guess we'll wait and see.
Yep. I really don't want to have a change of heart on him. I don't. Not at all.
Because that would be devastating?
It would be devastating to me because I like him so much right now. It isn't me trying to stick to a bit here. I like his swagger. I like his confidence.
Well, I have a feeling that you are the frog on top of a stack of coins.
I will hold them together.
All right. Well, lovely conversation. Should we kick off the chapter?
Yeah, let's do it. Bug told Tahol he didn't understand the meaning of 5 wings will buy you a grovel. Tahol ran his fingers through his hair and explained it was wings of the eternal domicile. There are 5 of them, and a grovel at the feet of the errant, at the feet of destiny. The empire has risen, and Leather awakens to a new day of glory. As they stood side by side on the roof, Bug said the 5th wing was sinking. What about 4 wings? Tahol told him it was gulls on a collision, and it was going to be a hot day. What tasks did he have? Bug said he had his meeting with the royal engineer Grum, since they were shoring up what they had done with the warehouse. Since the shoring up they had done with the warehouse had impressed him. Tahol said that was good, then asked if it should have impressed him. Bug said the floors aren't sagging, and they are bone dry, and the new plaster isn't cracking either. The owners are happy. Tahol said he thought he owned the warehouse. Bug asked if he wasn't happy about the news. Tahol said every one of him was happy about it. Bug said that's what he told Grum too. Tahol asked about the others who had fronted him on those investments. Bug said they were happy too. Tahol said it was just one of those types of days then. Bug agreed. Tahol asked if that was all he had planned for the day. Bug said no. He needed to scrounge up some food, then go visit Shand and her partners and give them the list again. The list Tahol had given them was too long for them to memorize. Tahol asked if he had memorized it. Bug said he did and rattled off a few of the names and asked if they were all fake. Tahol said no, that would give things away too quickly. All the local ones are real. He hoped it would keep them busy for a bit. Bug said he also had a meeting with the guilds and he needed bribe money. Tahol said he didn't. They were about to get hit from another quarter. Bug said he hadn't heard that there was going to be a strike. Tahol said of course he hadn't. The event that would trigger it hadn't happened yet. The Royal Engineers are obliged to hire only guild members. They have to see that conflict eliminated before it gives them trouble. Bug said, okay. He also needed to check on the safe house for Shirk and her new friend. Tahol said, Harlist Ebericht, that was certainly a surprise. Just how many dead people are out prowling the streets of this city anyways? Bug said, more than they were aware of. Tahol said, for all they knew, half the population might be undead. Bug asked if he meant literally or figuratively. Tahol said he got carried away and that there was a difference. Then asked how Ubala and Shirk were getting along. Bug said swimmingly. Bug said that was all he had planned for the morning. Tahol asked if he could fit in a quick visit to the Rat Catchers Guild. He has a contract for them, and he wanted a meeting with the guildmaster tomorrow night if possible. Bug said he could stop by on his way to the gravel quarry. Tahol asked what he was doing there. Bug said mostly curiosity. They had opened a new hill to fill his last order and found something. He didn't know what it was, but they hired a necromancer to deal with it, but he disappeared too, apart from some hair and a toenail. Tahol asked to be kept in the loop. Bug asked what he was up to for the day, and Tahol said he was going back to bed. A fun little section there to start.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree.
The first time I read this chapter, I didn't really care for it, and you and I had talked a little bit. I think I had some distractions in the house going on at the time when I was trying to read it, so I couldn't really focus on it. But when I was summarizing it, I was like, man, this is a pretty cool chapter, especially later on. There was one section I liked a lot. I have a feeling we probably maybe like the same section quite a bit.
Possible?
Yeah, I guess we'll see. Because when I first started summarizing, I was like, the fuck is going on here? I don't remember any of this. And then I was like, oh, okay, I know what this is about now. And I thought it was really cool.
Can you remind me what the warehouse was? I think that's the part that I'm a little... It's not a huge detail by any means, but I don't remember what warehouse they were talking about.
Isn't that the one where they got the Narek family there? And they were gonna build different units within it and rent it out or something.
I guess I don't recall that. I mean, I recall it, but I don't recall it,
Yeah, like you said, it's not a super major thing, but first thought here, Tahol and Bug. Tahol, Bug's explaining, the owners are impressed with this warehouse work, and Toll's like, well, don't I own this? I just think Pinky in the Brain. And sometimes I'm just really wondering who's running this gong show between the two, because you think it should be Tahol, but Bug's really doing a lot of the grunt work and the legwork here. And I think probably knows more what's going on a lot of times. But I don't think Tahol's playing dumb or anything. He's just kind of yeah, somebody else can get their hands dirty,
They're he's very spacey, very space cadet. You know what I mean? That's kind of the vibe that I get from him, is that socially awkward might be a better way of putting it. Super intelligent, but extremely social awkward.
Yeah.
He doesn't know how to interact with people.
But it also doesn't seem to bother him, because he people use the term awkward silence, right?
Yeah.
I never feel personally, I never feel like silence is awkward. I mean, unless you feel like it's awkward, I don't necessarily think silence is awkward. If I don't have something to say, then I'm just not going to say anything. That doesn't make it awkward for me. Maybe it makes it awkward for the other person. I don't know, but
maybe
kind of Tahol a little bit, I think.
Yeah, a little bit. I could see that. It's a good point.
Next thought here, and thank you for coming to the rescue with an answer here. But I was thinking about this. I'm like, Grum, wasn't that the name of the dude from holding his eyeballs in the Real Monsters Nickelodeon TV show?
Yeah, with the smelly pits or whatever.
Yeah, it wasn't Grum though. It was
Crumb.
Yes, thank you.
Why the hell I remember that from my childhood? I don't know.
I was close. I was on the right track, anyways.
Yeah, I mean, you were one letter off, and they were 4 letters away, so you're fine.
Yeah. What were the other ones' names?
Oblina and
oh yeah, she was the umbrella thing.
And Icus was the
rabbit
the red one
type thing.
Yeah, the red one. Yep. Why I remember that, dude? I don't fucking know. Oblina, Icus, and Crumb. Yep.
Nice pull, dude.
Thanks,
man. I wonder how many other people will relate to that. Probably not. Maybe a few, but
I don't know. I feel like maybe the people listening are probably around our age.
Some of them.
Maybe some of them slightly older, some of them slightly younger. I guess I don't know. We've never really done a query on our patrons' ages or our listeners' ages, and
No.
that's quite all right. We just hope you're enjoying the show.
I think Spotify does break down the demographics a little bit. I don't know if it's got like, it might have age brackets or it might have a range, but
Yeah, it's kind of
Yeah.
crazy to think, speaking of analytics, we need like 103 subscribers, and then YouTube will start paying us a penny for every watch.
ooh, we are approaching, as of May 8th here, we are approaching 40,000 listens. Oh, we're over
Nice.
39. We're just over 39,000. 39,056 plays.
Nice. I would
Cool.
say that's pretty incredible for, I mean, that's what, 10,000 plays a year? About? We've been doing this for a little over 4 years now. It's crazy to me.
Yeah, it's been going up.
Yeah.
Last thought, getting back on track for this section, but talking about this gravel pit, and they dug something up in this gravel pit, and it fucking just ripped a necromancer to shreds. I wonder what that's about. What did they find?
I mean, they tell us what they found.
Not in this first section, I don't think, did they?
No. But I mean, eventually we do find out. It's not
Yeah.
as direct as one would like it, but there are context clues.
I think, yeah, now I think they do name whatever this thing is, and I don't remember. That was the section. I think I had that section, and I don't remember if I named it. I guess we'll find out when we get there.
Yeah, I used the advice from one of our guests, and I looked up the glossary in the back and found the answer.
Oh, it was in there?
Yeah. We
Well-
could talk about it now, or we could talk about it then. Doesn't matter to me.
Yeah. Let's do it then. I might look it up while you're reading your section here.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
All right. That's all I got. You can take yours here.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, section number 2. Bryce lifted his gaze from the scroll and looked at the scribe across from him. He said that there must be some kind of mistake. The scribe said it was impossible, and there were never any mistakes. Breeze asked, what if this information was just about the missing persons reported? What about the missing persons that were not reported? The scribe said between 30 and 50%, added on to what they already have, but those reports would be the scrolls with the blue edges on the projected shelf. Bryce was confused about what he meant by projected shelf. The scribe clarified the shelf sticking out from the wall. Bryce then asked what the significance of the blue edges were. The scribe said that they signified assumed or speculated realities beyond the stats. Bryce asked if they were different sets of data. The scribe said that this was correct, as it was the only way to operate an effective government. Otherwise, there would be nothing but anarchy and chaos. Bryce looked back down at the scroll and asked how there could have been 7,000 disappearances within the last year, with the possible addition of 3,400 disappearances. The scribe corrected both numbers to their actual sum. Bryce then asked if anyone had been tasked to conduct investigations on these missing people. The scribe informs Bryce that the investigations have been contracted out. Bryce wondered who held that contract then. The man across from him said that he was in the wrong department and that info was housed with the Chamber of Contracts and Royal Charters. But Dick said he'd never heard of it and asked where it was located. The scribe got up and walked over to a small door and squeezed his way through. He told Bryce to follow him. The room was not much larger than a walk-in closet. Blue-edged scrolls filled the room from floor to ceiling. The scribe removed a scroll and opened it. He said that it was a newer contract within the last 3 years. Ongoing investigations, biannual reports, each one approved without prejudice. Bryce asked by who. The scribe said the Rat Catchers Guild. Bryce frowned and stated that he was confused. The scribe shrugged, rolled up the scroll, and said that Bryce shouldn't be confused, as the Rat Catchers Guild are good at what they do, plus a whole lot more. Bryce said that competence didn't seem relevant in the matter of disappearing persons. The scribe said he disagreed, as they were punctual with their reports, no queries, 2 renewals without challenge. He said this made them highly punctual. Bryce said there was no shortage of rats in the city, only one needed to walk down the street. The scribe asked Bedick to imagine the city without the Rat Catchers Guild. Bryce did not respond, and the scribe's facial expression became defensive as he studied the Finad for a moment. Bryce thanked the scribe and said that he would find his way out. Out in the chamber, Bryce rubbed his eyes to remove the dust. He needed to get outside. He thought to himself that near 7,000 people have gone missing in Letheras, so what has his brother stumbled upon? His brother remained a mystery to him, but clearly Tahol was up to something. Contrary to appearances, his brother had managed to keep things on the down low. The all-too-public fall, traumatic to the financial tolls, Bryce now realized that was another feint in his brother's grander scheme. The mere thought of a scheme like that existing worried Bryce. Tahol had revealed, on occasion, a ruthlessness and scary knowledge. He was simply capable of anything. Bryce figured that the less he knew about Tahol's scheming, the better. He didn't want his loyalties in question, and it seemed like Tahol might challenge them indeed. He thought about Hall, and thought about his mother, and how it was good she wasn't alive to see the outcome of her sons. But then again, how much of them are because of what she made them into? There seemed to be too many questions without answers these days. He made his way into more familiar places of the palace. Weapons training awaited him, and he was excited to partake, allow his mind some silence against the storm of his thoughts. The section was weirdly out of place for me. I get its significance, but compared to the rest of the chapter, it almost kind of feels like it really doesn't fit in.
It's just kind of Breeze beginning to do a little digging, right?
Right, yeah. I get the sense, and I didn't comment about it, but I've been thinking about it a lot lately, is it kind of almost seems like this contract with the Rat Catchers Guild, they aren't really doing anything. They don't ask questions. They're good enough to be renewed twice over, right? And they say that they're ongoing investigating, right? But they never come up with any discrete answers, is kind of the sense that I got from it. I don't know. It doesn't really directly say one way or another. It just kind of, it seems very bureaucratic to me. They don't ask questions. They've been renewed twice. They provide us reports twice a year, and their investigations are always ongoing. But that doesn't really answer his question.
I guess I didn't really think about that, but yeah, they're just keeping the money coming in, I guess, and pretending to be busy.
Right, yeah, exactly. And I think that's kind of Bry's point, is there's so many rats in the city. How can they be good? Because there's still rats everywhere.
Right.
But on top of that bureaucratic bullshit, right? He's well, who held he asks the scribe who holds the contract for these missing people. And the scribe is well, you're actually in the wrong department. That all that information is stored within the Chamber of Contracts and Royal Charters. And it just reminded me of those times you have to call a company or inquire about something and they're oh, you've actually reached the wrong department and let me get you over to the right one, and then you get over there and the call disconnects and you got to call back and, oh, you reached the wrong department and you know what I mean? It just...
Yeah. We both used to work in call centers. We know how that goes.
Yes, we did. And again, just this thought after his interaction with the scribe, he rubs his eyes to get rid of all the dust, and he thought to himself that near 7,000 people have gone missing in Letheras. So what has Tahol stumbled upon? And I wonder if Tahol is using the missing persons as a form of blackmail against Letheras or Lethery, on who or what may be yet to be determined. But I just wonder, what's the point if not to gain an upper hand in some way, shape, or form by discovering the reason behind these missing people?
Okay, so I feel like these missing people are the ones that are ending up in the river, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right, and some of them are criminals that drown or whatever, but I don't think regular Joe Schmo in the city must know that. that these missing people just wind up in the river. And I guess, yeah, what kind of panic or like dissidence does that incite if everybody knows that, like, oh, your missing kid, he's in the river. The Rat Catchers Guild threw him in there, or whatever it is. Probably just gonna start like a riot or something, if everybody found out.
I mean, and that's kind of what the scribe alluded to, right? Is that it's a form of, what did he say? The scribe said that he was correct, and it was the only way to operate an effective government. So basically, giving them fluff, sugarcoating things, right, is kind of the sense that I get from that. Otherwise, as you said rightly, nothing but anarchy and chaos. How much of it is Kettle, too, contributing to missing people?
It's true, but they're not ending up in the river.
No, they're ending up in the ground. Yeah, I mean, if you're trying to keep this thing alive, how many people are you killing to feed it, right? Like,
right, yeah,
so
that's
it could
true.
It could be Kettle, it could be the city of Letheras. Like, I don't know.
I think it's got to be a combination of both.
Yeah, well, right, because numbers are numbers, right?
Right, and I mean, we don't get a number of how many she's done because she can't count, but she just says many groups of 8 and 2.
Yeah,
many groups of 10. So is that hundreds, thousands?
But I guess I find myself thinking about, like, what is the goal with figuring out how many people are missing? Like, what does that achieve you?
I mean, you could hold somebody responsible.
And that's kind of where my immediate thought goes to. I think that this might be part of how he takes down the government of Lethery, right? Like,
yeah, maybe.
You didn't do your due diligence to bring these murderers to justice. You owe me 10 peaks or whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I'm sure we'll find out. I would imagine that this would be one of those things where Steven Erikson isn't just going to let this quietly dissolve. So I think it's part of the intent and the plan. My last thought, as it was fairly informational, right? We're catching up with Bryce. After he's outside, and he has this thought, that his brother had revealed on occasion kind of a ruthlessness and a very scary mind, and that he was simply capable of anything. And hearing this from another character's perspective, and even though it's Tohol's brother, right? Like, there's probably some intrinsic bias there. And for it to be so positive, but like scary, makes Tohol not just comic relief for me, but like 100% intriguing. So I just think it's funny how it adds to his character arc without even interacting with him. So I think it was just well done. Yeah.
Another dimension, right?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So I thought it was really well done, and I just wanted to comment that praise.
Cool.
But that was all I had about that section.
All right. Section 3. Bug figured there were advantages to being dead as he lifted a flagstone from the warehouse floor. Here's what the warehouse is for. The hole revealed a ladder. Bug kept thinking dead fugitives didn't need food, water, or even air, and made hiding them pretty damn easy. He went down the ladder 23 rungs and came to a tunnel. There was a cracked stone door with hieroglyphs. An old tomb like this was rare, as most had caved in under the weight of the city above. Scholars wanted to decipher the glyphs, while the common folk wondered why the tombs had doors to begin with. The language had been partially deciphered, sufficient to figure out they were curse-laden towards the errant in some way. This was enough to avoid them, though some had been broken into, and it had become known that the tombs contained no riches, and each tomb contained a plain sarcophagus that was empty. There was also rumor that these supposed tomb robbers had also suffered horrible fates. Bug lit a lantern and used his shoulder to open the door. He heard Shirk's voice and asked if it was him. Bug said it was. She called him a liar and said he was him. She needed to hole. Bug said he was busy and asked where Harlist was. Shirk said in the sarcophagus. Bug asked what he was doing, And Harless said whoever had used this previously was very tall and that he was just laying there. Bug said he could see that, but wanted to know why. Harless said there were no chains. Bug then turned to Shirk and asked where the diamonds were. She gave them to him and wanted to know if he had found what she was looking for. Bug said yes, and it was even at a decent price, leaving her with most of her money still. She told him Tahol can keep what's left in the box, but she would keep her money from the whorehouse. Bug asked if she was sure she didn't want to cut from this. Tahol would be happy with 50% as the risk was all hers. Shirk said no, she was a thief, she could always get more. Bug looked around and asked if this would do for the time being. Shirk said she didn't see why not. It was dry and quiet most of the time, but she needed Ooblala. Harlist said he wanted sharp teeth and talons. Shirk said that work had already begun. Harlist said he wanted to be scary. It was important that he was scary. He had been practicing hissing and snarling. Bug said he would truly be terrifying, but he should be on his way now. Shirk said to hold on a minute. Had there been any word on the robbery at Garen's estate? Bug said no, and it wasn't surprising if she thought about it. Garen's undead brother had disappeared the same night as a half-giant beat up most of the guards. Aside from that, what else is certain? Will anyone actually attempt to enter Garen's warded office? Harless was still thinking about being scary and asked if he ate human flesh, if it would rot in his stomach. That means he would stink, and he liked that. He liked thinking about things like that. He liked the smell of doom. Bug told Shirk they probably didn't know they had been robbed, and if they did, they wouldn't make a move until after their master returns. She was probably right, but she still wanted Ooblala. She missed him and his. Bug cut her off and said he promised. Was there anything else? Shirk said she didn't know. She would think about it. Bug waited, and after some time had passed, Shirk asked what Bug knew of the tombs. There was, at one time, a corpse in the sarcophagus. Bug asked how they could tell. Shirk said they just could. Bug said he didn't know much other than the language belonged to a people known as the Forkral Assail, who are personified in the Fulcra, what they call the errands. The tombs were built for another extinct people known as the Jaghut, which are acknowledged in the Hold of Ice. The wards were intended to block the efforts of another people, the Talan Imas, who were sworn enemies of the Jaghut. The Talan Imas hunted down the Jaghut relentlessly, even those who had surrendered their place in the world. Those Jaghut choosing something that was closely resembling death. Their souls would travel to their hold and leave their body behind, the flesh then stored in tombs. But that wasn't good enough for the Talan Imas. Anyways, the Forkral Assail thought of themselves as impartial arbiters in the conflict, and that was the extent of their involvement. More than that, Bug really couldn't say. Shirk said she had another question. She asked if that was common knowledge among the serving staff. Bug said no, he just picks things up along the way from time to time. Shirk said he picks things up no scholars in Letheras knows, or is he just inventing things as he went? Bug said he tries to avoid fabricating things. Shirk wanted to know if he was successful in that. Bug said not always. Shirk told him to leave. Bug said he would send Ooblala tonight. Harless asked if he really had to. He wasn't the type to watch. Shirk called him a liar and said he was too. Harless said she had caught him, but it was a useful lie and he wanted to keep it. Shirk said that position was indefensible. Harless said that was rich, considering what she would be up to tonight. Bug left them and returned to the ladder and then back up to the office where he replaced the stone over the hole. Once outside, he made his way towards Bug's Construction's latest project, which was a school for the city's wealthiest children. It was a popular prison-style education, and whatever traumas were taught came to an abrupt halt one wet spring when a wall collapsed inwards. The next gathering of students made the floor collapse, and the children and teachers were buried in mud. A third of them drowned, and half of those, their bodies were never recovered. It was a scandal, and everyone blamed poor construction. It had been 15 years since that event, and the building had remained empty for that time, reportedly haunted, so the purchase price of the building was reasonable. That left Bug with plenty of work to do on the building to make it safer. The The building was being transformed into a luxurious mansion, which they would then sell to some rich asshole who didn't have any taste. When he had arrived, the foreman was shoving building plans, alterations, and other things that needed approval in his face. It was an hour before he was able to file his drawings and get out of there. The street that had become the road that led to the gravel quarry was one of the busiest and oldest in the city. It ran parallel to the canal, while most of the buildings that lined it were over 200 years old. Resisting decay, they almost seemed foreign. The scale house was tall and narrow, squeezed between two other stone buildings, one of them being the home to the Guild of Street Inspectors. A few generations past, a particularly skilled stone carver had lined the limestone in a multitude of rats. Cavorting rats, dancing rats, rats at war and at rest, rats eating corpses, swarming feast-laden tabletops amidst sleeping mongrels and drunken servants. Rats' tails formed borders to these scenes, and it seemed to Bug that in some strange way the rats were moving, writhing, and even grinning. He opened the door and asked, "How many? How bad? How long?" The blue rose marble desk nearly blocked the entrance as it spanned the width of the room. The secretary had not looked up at him at that time and then continued to speak, saying to answer those questions, then tell them where and what they were willing to pay, and if this was a one-off or if he was interested in regular monthly visits. Also, they were not accepting contracts right now. Bug only said no. The man looked up and said they were not responsible. Bug asked for what, and the man said anything. And they are not accepting any more petitions either. So if he was here to deliver one, he may as well turn around and leave. Bug asked what kind of petition he would even want to hand the man. The man replied saying any kind. Belligerent tenement associations have to wait just like everyone else. Bug said he didn't have a petition. The man said then they didn't do it. They were never here. He had heard wrong, and it was someone else. Bug said he was here on behalf of his master, who wishes to meet with the guild and discuss a contract. The man said they were backed up and not taking on more contracts. Bug said price was not a consideration as long as it was within reasonable limits. The man asked Bug what the considerations were. They may have unreasonable limits in mind. Bug said his master was not interested in rats. The secretary said he was insane, but interesting. The board would be meeting tonight on another matter, but Bug's master would be allotted time at the end of the meeting, which would be noted on the agenda. Bug asked what time. He was told the 9th bell. Don't show up late or he wouldn't be allowed in. Bug said his master is always punctual. The secretary told Bug to leave. He was busy, and Bug leaned in and poked him in the fucking eyes. There was no resistance. Bug said that was cute and to give his compliments to the guild sorcerer. The man asked what gave him away. Bug said he was too rat-like, which gave away his master's obsession. However, the illusion was very well done. The man said he hadn't been found in decades. Who in Aaron's name was he? Bug said that answer would require a petition and walked away. The man called after him, asking who his master was. Bug only waved as he shut the door. It would be a long walk back to the quarry. As Tahol had predicted, it would be a hot day. That was a fun section.
Yeah, it definitely was a fun section. Lots of transitions for sure.
Yes, and I've got a little bit here. I'm sure we'll have some stuff to talk about. So first thing, Bug's going down this ladder and 23 rungs. 23 is just my lucky number. So I read that and I was like, oh, that's fun. But then the common folk wondered why the tombs had doors to begin with. They don't want the things getting out. That's why you got a door or people getting in, I guess. But then, we're trying to we're not, but I guess, these scholars and whoever are trying to decipher the language on these doors. And they do enough to figure out that they're curses. And I just thought, well, maybe that's something you want to do before you start kicking in the doors, right? Like, oh, it's cursed? All right, we'll leave this one alone. I'm not going to kick that door in, so.
Right. Maybe it's benign. Let's just hope that it doesn't work.
Well, you can take that chance. I don't know that I would.
No, not at all.
Yeah. I think you have a comment here.
Yeah. So, when Bug is talking to Harlist and Shirk, Harlist said whoever had used this previously was very tall, and he was just laying there. later on in the chapter, when Bryce and Ceda are picking out a sword for our dweller, Bryce makes a comment that he was very tall. And I wonder if this was his tomb.
I guess I don't know if that specific one was, but I definitely get the sense that one of them was. I would agree with that. I think when I was reading and then summarizing this, Bug, he says, Bug looked around and asked if this would do for the time being. And I didn't really understand what he was asking at first, but then it came to me, oh, he's asking if this tomb will be okay for the time being. This is that safe house they were talking about.
Yeah.
I just didn't get that right away.
Right, because they just robbed Garoon's estate. So I'm sure that once Garoon gets back, there's going to be a search party, right?
Yeah, they just got to lay low a little bit.
Yeah.
Before my next comment here, I didn't make note of this, but just Harless. Harless is just such a fucking toddler. He's like, I want to be scary. I want to smell like doom.
Well,
who's? I love that. That cracked me up. I'm just like, he's totally just a little kid.
Maybe he is, though. Do we get his age?
I mean, I assume he's an adult, but
maybe.
I just thought that was funny.
Because is it Garoon's younger brother or older? I don't remember.
I guess I don't remember.
I thought it was
either.
his younger brother, but maybe I'm wrong.
But then we get some talk of the fork roll of sail and the fulcra and what they call the errands. And I don't really know what to make of this, but I thought it was interesting. And I'm hoping maybe you got a little more insight because I feel like this is kind of like your wheelhouse a little bit.
I mean, is there anything like specific you want insight on? Like just the fulcral sail who are personified in the fulcra? What they call the errant? I mean,
I don't know. It's just, I feel like we're kind of piecing together this tapestry of like the elder races and the gods and like how they work together and whatever.
Well, I mean, the fulcra are an unaligned hold, right? So that means that like they don't seem to have an allegiance to each other or anything else. And what we learn a little bit later in here is the fulcral sail, as we've been told before, are more like peacekeepers, right? So it kind of sounds like they hid the Jaghut away and then made curses so the Talani Mass couldn't get in, even though they were kind of indifferent to like that actual confrontation, right? They just more or less put a Band-Aid on it so the Talani Mass couldn't get in. And they're like, oh, it's good enough. So I think that's probably what... It's an unbiased entity is kind of the sense that I got from it.
I don't really know how unbiased they are. They just seem indifferent and unbiased seem different to me. I'm hoping that's something we get to learn more about as we progress. Maybe not necessarily so much in this book, but throughout the series.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the fork roll sail are kind of like the last frontier. I mean, we did get a little bit of a fork roll sail interaction in House of Chains, but haven't seen anything since.
Right. It was cool to get some here to have them mentioned. Yeah.
They seem like an association, just parents that I've seen out and about that just allow their kids to continue using a tablet so they don't have to hear them cry. Type thing. That's like what the fork roll sail remind me of. They're like, oh, well, you're kind of being a little bitch, so here you go. Right? Like, they kind of appease the Jaghut at the same time appeasing the Talani Mass.
Sure.
So yeah, maybe you're right. Indifferent and bias. Yeah, we'll go with that. Indifference. They don't seem to give a shit, but they do just enough
to keep them from nuking each other, basically. Or obviously it didn't completely work out. So
I don't think they're part of the Fulcra. They're not really associated with other members of the Fulcra.
Next thought here, as Bug is still explaining all this stuff, he's talking about the Jaghut and how they were in this thing closely resembling death. Their souls would travel to their hold and leave their body behind, then flesh stored in tombs. I'm wondering if you think this is kind of like describing an Azath in some sense, or do you think it's something else?
Well, remember in the last book, and again, I don't remember their names, but the Jaghut woman that Karza rescues, and then she shows him to her brother, Fearless, or Phyllis, or the guy in the box that has all the wine that
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't remember his
Karza.
name either.
Yeah, like I feel like this is what they're talking about.
Oh,
So
okay.
their bodies are hiding or in hiding, and their souls are in the. That's kind of what I'm assuming that might mean, but I could be wrong. That's literally my best guess.
I don't think it's a bad guess.
I think it's really interesting that like, we've read 4 books plus a novella, and all of this is still so new
Yeah.
to us, right? Like you feel experienced but like incapable. Like you've had sex a million times but you don't know how to make an orgasm, type thing. Like that's
Wow.
all I could think
Okay.
of, right? Like
I don't have any response for that, Justin.
this is what I do. This is what I do. Yeah. You
Well,
have
I think
all
that's a good segue to my next comment here when Bug says he'll bring Ublala over tonight, and Harless is like, "Oh man, do you really have to? I don't want to watch." And Shirk's like, "Shut the fuck up, you do too." And he's like, "Damn it, you're right."
I think the word that they used was voyeurism.
Yeah, voyeur. Yeah, that whole thing was funny. He's just like, I still want to keep the lie.
Yeah. No, for sure. I get it. Even though I just totally fucked that up for you. But
No, that worked. That worked out so good.
yeah, I guess you gotta tone it, but you gotta tone it back down. So that's fair. It was a good transition.
It
Good
was. It was
transition
good.
point. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. It worked surprisingly well. And then we find out about the school that collapsed. And I know I was a chapter or two ago. I was wondering, like, oh, could Kettle be, Menendor or whatever the other
Meanador,
one
yeah.
of the other two other ones. But then we hear about this. I guess I would call it a tragedy at the school, right? Where like, however many kids drowned in mud. Do you think Kettle could have been one of those students?
I didn't think about it until you summarized it, but absolutely. It's very possible for sure. I guess it all depends upon like ghost theory in this universe, right? Like those who die, are they trapped in the environment that they died in, or are they free to walk around,
What? Oh, dude, this is just like coming to me. This is weird. So if she drowned in mud and then she's like taking bodies and then shoving them into the ground, they're not drowning, I guess. They're just getting eaten by a tree or whatever's happening. But
Right. And that would be why the bodies were never found. I don't know how close the school is to the Azath Tower. Maybe.
yeah, food for thought.
Yeah.
I think this is my last thought here, but we get this scene described for us with a stone carver that had carved in all these rats into the wall, and I think that would be cool to see.
Yeah. The way that it was described was very visionistic. It's not a fucking word. But, you could see it, right? Like you could envision it. But
Yeah.
this also reminded me of a scene earlier on in the book. You remember when Seren Paddock and Baruch the Pale and Hall are on their way to the Edur village, and they come across this like apparition in the road, and then there's all these swarming rats
Oh
around
yeah,
their
dude.
feet.
Yeah, I would not have remembered that until you just said something. There's a lot of rats in this book.
I wonder if there's a connection there. And
Hmm.
even later on, my comment on your section here, after Bug pokes this dude in the eyes, well, this illusion in the eyes, right? The illusion makes me think that this is the human Warren Minas, which is the child Warren to the elder Warren of Warren of Shadow, the Edur Warren.
I don't remember. I don't know how you remember all this shit. Keep it all straight in your head.
Carald Emerlane is the elder Warren of Shadow.
It's impressive, man.
It's just, I wonder if the rats are somehow connected, everything that's going on, and even if the Rat Catchers Guild has maybe, or playing a part in things. I feel like the rats are a way for them to spy on things going on, which would kind of explain why they don't ever seem to go away. The rat catchers are simply, and even later on in this very chapter, the Rat Catchers Guild seems to be pretty chummy with the things they're supposed to catch.
Yeah. I don't know how I didn't have a comment on Bug trying to poke that thing in the eyes, because that was funny too. I'm just like imagining him like getting in that guy's face and just like, and then it just goes through.
I think of that one comedy movie, Waterboy, where he like pokes the receiver in the eye after Coach Klein is like telling him to be aggressive. And so he's like, "What would Captain Insano do?" And then he like pokes him in the eye or whatever. So
way to relate Malazan to the Water Boy.
I mean, we've done it to Dumb and Dumber, Pinky in the Brain, The Water Boy. I mean, yeah. This is why I'm saying Erickson should write a comedy movie. The Adventures of Bug into Hole, right?
It's written itself. It's all there.
All right.
Well, that's all I've got here on that section. That was a fun one.
That was a fun one. It's always more enjoyable when we can do this. I feel like it accentuates what you read. So,
yeah.
Okie dokie. Well, we'll move on. Bryce had been summoned to join the Ceda in the Chamber of Tiles. He stepped down from the last step and made his way onto the raised walkway. The Ceda was circling the far platform in a distracted manner, muttering under his breath. Bryce announced himself and asked what the Ceda had wanted him for. The Ceda rambled about how unpleasant it was and that he needed a clearer mind. He said, in other words, not his. He suggested Bryce and asked the Finad to come closer. Benedict had never heard of this type of dismay from the Ceda, and so asked what had happened. Kuru explains that all the holds are pure chaos. He has witnessed the transformation. He invites Bryce to see for himself. He calls out the tile of the Fulcra and the Dolmen. The Ceda asked if Bryce saw the figure huddled at its base, bound to the tall, upright stone with chains, all obscured by smoke that numbs his mind. The dolmen has been usurped. Bryce stared down at the tile. The figure was ghostly, and his vision blurred the longer he stared. Bryce asked who could have done this. Kuru-Khan said that it could be a stranger, an outsider. Bryce added that it could be a god. Kuru massaged his brow and said yes and no, as they hold no value in the idea of gods. Upstarts are nothing compared to that of the holds. Most of the gods aren't even real, just projections of a people's wants, needs, desires, or fears. And sometimes that was all that was needed. Bryce asked what he meant. Kuru shook his head and goes on to say the Azath hold, as this troubles him the most. He asked if Bryce can sense the setter tile, the Hearthstone. It has died. The tomb is breached and the portal stands unguarded. Kuru tells Bryce that he needs him to visit the Azath grounds and to go armed. The Finad asks what he is to look for. The Ceda said to look for anything suspicious or broken, and added that the dwellers of that Azath were not dead. The Finad asked what he is to look for. The Ceda said to look for anything suspicious or broken, and added that the dwellers of that Azath were not dead. Bryce scanned the nearest tiles and then asked if there was more. Kuru-Khan eyebrows lifted as he said that the hold of the dragon has awakened. Wyval, Blood Drinker, Gate, Consort. Among the Fulcra, the errant is now at the center of things. The pack draws near. The shapeshifter has become a chimera. Ice Hold's huntress walks frozen paths. Child and seed stir to life. The empty hole, as Bryce can see, has become obscured. Every tile, a shadow stands behind the empty throne. Savior and betrayer have joined together. How was that possible? Wanderer, mistress, watcher, and walker are all hidden, blurred by mysterious motions. He is frightened. Bryce asked if he had heard from the delegation. Ceda said no, as since their arrival, their communication has been lost, blocked by Edur sorcery, or a sort they've not experienced before. He added that this was troubling. Bryce said that he would be leaving as there was still daylight outside. Ceda agreed and said to return back here with what Bryce encounters. Bryce said that he would do just that.
Nice job.
Thanks.
This section I probably kind of forgot about until you started reading it,
Oh,
but I think you might have some interesting stuff here.
I do?
Yes, you do. There's some interesting things in this section for sure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I tried my best to make sense of it. And I'm sure that a lot of it is pure speculation. But, we want to talk about the dolmen being usurped. A figure huddled at its base, bound to a tall, upright stone in chains, all obscured by smoke. So again, it's one of those things where I imagine the tiles as like a card in the deck of dragons, kind of predicting what it is that's happening. And while I'm not sure who this figure could be, as I think that it could be a multitude of things, I'm not sure what exactly this is predicting. I believe the smoke that makes the Ceda hard to think is the crippled god's doing. As we know from Memories of Ice, he did something to poison the Warrens. So I'd imagine it started with the holds, my guess. But the figure being chained to the large stone, I'm not sure again who that is. But my mind immediately goes to Burn, because again, Memories of Ice. He holds Burn captive, right? And Quick Ben and Talamandus essentially heal it or make it not die as quickly. And my mind even went to Karza, because House of Chains, we know that he's chained to something. And even your Otatero dragon, sir.
You're bringing it up.
I did bring it up.
Did not expect that. I did not expect that.
You did not expect me to bring it up? Or for...
No. I didn't think of it. I wouldn't have thought to bring up the Otatero dragon.
You were so adamant about it last book. But
it's got to come back. It's got to.
I would imagine, yeah. But I don't think it was chained to a rock. I think it was chained to like some wooden cross, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think that, again, all of those are just what immediately comes to my mind. It could even be what Bryce interacts with a little bit later, but I don't know. Those are my best guesses. My next thought, Kuru and Bryce are like, well, could be a stranger, an outsider. And then Bryce added that it could be a god. And I'm like, all three? Because that seems to be the case, given what we know about the crippled god. We know that he's a god from a foreign realm, so therefore he's a stranger and an outsider and a god.
Yes.
This part where they talk about the Azath, the Hearthstone, it has died, the tomb is breached, and the portal stands unguarded. Tomb and portal are part of the Azath hold. Based on this short sentence, because the Azath has died, the tomb could be breached, and the portal, or in my opinion, the keeper, is unable to defend because it's overwhelmed. It's
and the keeper would be Kettle?
That's what I'm thinking.
Sorry, I mean to interrupt you.
No, you're fine. So I think that this mysterious dweller that we eventually get to essentially made a bargain with the Azath before it died to help the keeper, because she's overwhelmed, to try to keep these things at bay. And I think that is what allowed him or her or it to get out.
Gotcha.
I think the jailer, the jail cell, the prison was like, hey, I'll make a deal with you. You can get out, but you have to help keep everybody here at bay. So could that person be Silchus? Maybe. That's kind of my immediate guess based on we've seen him appear as an apparition, mainly in the Edor village or around the Edor village.
We'll see what is revealed.
Yeah, I did my best to try to surmise some of these other things that Ceda is calling out about the tiles. You know, the hold of a dragon, awakening, Wyval, blood drinker. We've seen a little bit of activity, especially with Udanas, around that particular piece. What it means, I don't know. They're alluding to something. Gate and consort, these I'm not sure of, but my mind immediately goes to the bone dragon that helps the Solanda through the Warren of Fire. Consort, gate, right? Like,
interesting.
He escorted them through a gate. And again, I'm trying to keep in mind all of the things that we've already read, because again, this is all before all of that. I think that this is the fulcra of all of those events.
Nice play on words.
Yeah. And then again, among the fulcra, the errant is now at the center of things. So maybe I just answered that by trying to be funny. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's literally, it's supposed to be taken not as a subversion, but literal. It literally is at the center of things. It's the fulcra from which everything is balancing upon. And again, the shape finder has become a chimera. I don't know if the chimera is supposed to be some type of metaphor for like multiple beasts or multiple people or what, or if it's like a literal translation of three beasts being combined together. Again, what that has to do with anything we've read so far, I'm struggling to find any type of discernment from that.
Yeah, I don't know either. But the rest of this coming up, I feel like the rest of this that you have comments on, and I have thoughts as well, but I feel like it might be part of the larger story here. I don't know what you think, so
Yeah,
I'll let you shut up
No.
or I mean, I said that way wrong. I'll let you shut up.
Ooh.
I will shut up,
Yeah,
and then I will listen, and then I will tell you what I think. That is what I meant to say. Sorry.
it's all good. I mean, and this isn't the first time we've had this type of prediction, right? Like, Featherwitch had a very similar unveiling. We had Molly Macabre come on, and she did voice acting for this particular part.
Yeah.
It's very similar to that, maybe a little less elaborate. And I kind of am using this because I didn't back then, like, try to form connections. So I'm doing it now.
I may have formed some connections, whether they're right or wrong, we will see. But
I think that's the joy of this. Icehold Huntress walks frozen path, child and seed stir to life. Again, just immediate thought makes me think of the prologue to Memories of Ice with Morn, right? We've got the boy that ends up being the Panion Seer, and its sister, and the mother making the choice to leave it. I know that she's dead, so I don't think that she's the Icehold's Huntress, but I do think we do get an appearance by the Huntress in this chapter.
I felt like I was thinking Kalava.
She's not Jaghut, though.
Damn it. Well, never mind then on that. In my mind, those were connected. I was wrong on that. But then Child and Seed, I thought of the Maib.
Yep. There you go. That works too. The Maib and Silver Fox, that is definitely another example. It could also be the Aerosol taking Troll's seed at the end of House of Chains. Mianandor took Udanos' seed earlier on in this book. So I feel like that could be many things. Which specifically, I don't know. And then this part where the empty hold has become obscured. Every tile, a shadow stands behind the empty throne. And I'm going, this is either, Crippled God putting Rulad, or even Kellenved taking the Shadow Throne, or becoming Shadow Throne. I guess my last thought, just this, I had the same kind of reaction that Ceda did about the Savior and Betrayer, and it's incredibly contradictory, and I have no clue or hints as to who or what these could be. Maybe Silchus and Scavendari have merged in some way, shape, or form. Could even be Mianandor. She's labeled as Betrayer in the back in the glossary. And maybe Sheltatha Lore, the Edur god of worship, their potential savior. So maybe, for whatever reason, Scavendari's daughter and Mianandor have merged.
This is where I was thinking bigger picture for this story, right? Because I was thinking, my mind went to Open, the two sides of the coin there, and Gnos.
There you go. Yep.
It's like, I mean, you've said numerous times here, like, it's interesting to see all this stuff that's happened before. And so, like, I wonder if we're getting, like, set up here for stuff that happens in the previous books that we've read, right? But later in the timeline.
Right. Yeah. But this is so, like, well disguised that, like, again, it still seems fresh. Even though there's, like, I'm 90% sure that what I just read in this section the majority of it we've already read about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that's kind of the cool subversion part of it, is that like you don't really know because there's no association. There's small tidbits, breadcrumbs, as I
Right.
like to say. But yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah.
So cool.
All right. Stan, Kyle, Cartman, that's the one.
Yeah.
Third time's a charm.
It's all good.
All right, you ready then?
Yep.
The track leading to the quarry zigzagged to a notch in the hill. It was a very dusty area, and the goats coughed in the shade. Bug wiped away the sweaty grit, then continued on. A wagon full of stonecutters had passed him not long ago, and news from the frustrated foreman had reached him that the workers would not do their job, at least until the situation was resolved. Some sort of cavity had accidentally been breached, and there was some sort of animal within, imprisoned for a long time. The cutters were drug in, their shrieks cut off quickly. The necromancer that had been hired didn't have much better luck. Bug reached the notch and looked down at the pit, the mouth of the pit hardly visible where the work had taken place. He made his way to the cave and stopped 20 paces short, the air suddenly bitterly cold. Bug stepped to the side and sat on a block of limestone and watched frost form. He had heard the sound of ice crunching underfoot, and a figure emerged from the opening of the cave. Tall and naked, and gray and green skin color. Blonde hair covered her chest, and she wore a short skirt with a long jacket. Aside from that, she had moccasins and a belt with numerous knives. Her attention was on the cave, her hands on her hips, and she sighed. Bug said he wasn't coming out. She looked over at him and said no, he wasn't, since she was here now. Bug asked what kind of demon it was. She said a hungry and insane one, though a coward. Bug asked if she put him here. She nodded and said damn humans couldn't leave things alone. Bug called her a jaghut and said he doubted they knew. She said it wasn't an excuse, and they were always digging. They just don't stop. Bug asked what was next, and she sighed again. The jaghut filled the hole with ice. There was a strange form stuck in it, and Bug recognized it as a calibriol, and he was glad she had returned. She said she needed to find someplace else for it. Wondering if Bug had any ideas, he considered for a moment and then smiled. So, only two thoughts here. You know, when Bug sits down and the air got bitterly cold, I'm like, okay, well, this has got to be a jaghut. And at first I thought like that's what was like ripped the people apart. I was thinking that was like the monster within, you know, but it was whatever this other thing is. I don't know if you listen to Cake too much, but I had a little reference there with the short skirt and long jacket.
I know the song. Yeah.
Gotcha. I was hoping it wouldn't go over your head. And then it is a calibarol. I don't know how we want to pronounce that. I didn't, like I said before, I didn't remember that from the first read through. I thought the jaghut was just a monster in there. Were you looking it up in the back?
No, it's a demon.
Just a demon.
Yeah. But I thought the same thing on the first read through as well, because I didn't know what that word was. But then when I was summarizing and doing my reread, you know, because I read your parts before I summarize mine, you know?
Me too, yeah.
Yeah, so it's definitely a demon.
Where do you think Bug is going to want this thing put?
The only thought that I have, and that only makes sense, is that instead of Harlist being made scary, they're going to put a demon in Garoon's estate.
You don't think he's going to get his filed teeth?
I don't know. It's possible, but maybe while he's getting his makeover, they put the demon back there, and they pass on some story to Garoon that Harlist was possessed and now has become a demon or something. I don't know. That's just my immediate thought to your question. Whether it sticks or has relevance, that was my best guess. That's it.
I have no better thought at all. I didn't have a clue. I don't know where this thing's going. And maybe when we find out, maybe we'll be like, well, how? Either you're going to be right or we'll be like, why did we not think of that?
I'm sure it'll probably be the latter. Yeah. You didn't summarize it, but Bug calls her the Huntress and then says, I'm glad you decided to return.
I did not summarize that. So you had mentioned you thought we got a visit from the Huntress. So
yes.
Interesting.
It's clear that
Good.
the Jaghut probably had buried this demon here in some way, shape, or form.
A good catch there. Nice.
Yeah.
That's all I got. Ready for you.
All right. Little shorty. I didn't have a ton, but the track leading to the quarry, Bryce made his way, stepping carefully between two of the ruined towers. The air was hot, and grasshoppers rose from his path in a panic. He felt crunching underfoot and looked down to see the ground crawling with life. Insects he'd never seen before, scrambling to either side of him. Because they were leaving, he wasn't concerned. He came within sight of the Azath Tower. He was baffled at the Ceda certainty that the tower was sentient and could breathe life on its own. Kurakan asserted that the tower simply rose and was not constructed by an ancient builder. The grounds around the tower were less of a mystery, but then again, more dangerous. He observed the barrows in the overgrown yard. Bryce reached the edge of the yard, a door to his right and the tower to his left. He saw that many of the barrows appeared to be sunk in, as if gutted from the inside out. He studied the scene for a moment before making his way towards the gateway. As he stepped onto the first flagstone walkway, the stones shifted and he had to maintain his balance. He heard high-pitched laughter from the tower's entrance. He looked up. The girl emerged from the shadow the tower had cast. Kettle said she knows him, as she follows the men that follow him and kills them. Bryce asked what had happened here. Kettle says that bad things have happened here. She came closer and asked Bryce if he was her friend. She reveals that she was supposed to help keep the Azath alive, but it died anyway, and the things that were captive were now free and battling among each other. That is, except the one the tower chose. She tells him that he wants to talk to Bryce, to one of her grown-up friends. Bryce asked who her grown-up friends were. She lists off Shirk, Tahol, Ublala, and Bug. Bryce was silent and then asked her what her name was. Kettle introduces herself. Bryce asked how many Kettle had killed within the last year. Kettle said that she could only count to 8 and 2, but admitted it was a lot of 8 and 2. Bryce asked where the bodies go. Kettle explained that she drags them back here and pushes them into the ground. Bryce followed up to ask if that was all of them. She nodded yes. Bryce then asked where his friend of hers was that wanted to talk to him. She didn't know if he was a friend per se, but tells him to follow her step by step. She took him by the hand, and Bryce tried to repress the shiver that he felt as he felt her clammy hand. She took him off the stone path and between barrows. There were more insects, and Bryce said that he's never seen bugs like this before. Kettle reveals that they are from the time the tower was born. She stopped at a crumpled mound on which sat one of the larger trees in the yard. The tree itself was streaked gray and black. The twigs and branches had strange curvature, rather than that of your typical sharp angles. The bark seemed scaly, like snakeskin. The Finad frowned and asked the child how he was supposed to speak with this dude. She said that he was trapped and that Bryce needed to close his eyes and think about nothing, like when he fights. At least that's what the Dweller is telling her. Bryce was startled and asked if he was speaking with Kettle now. She said yes, but it wouldn't work to speak through her as she doesn't know enough words. She told him that he has to show Bryce, and how Bryce did it before. Bryce said that it seems he could keep no secrets. Kettle told the Finad, that the man said not many, but that he would return the favor so they can trust each other. Bryce said that he appreciates the honesty and said he'd give it a try. He closed his eyes and he felt the cold handle of Kettle on his. He pulled his thoughts from the grisly details of that connection. He felt himself locked into the mindset he was when he fights. He was startled at the strength and will that tugged him away. He fought against the panic, knowing he was defenseless against that power. He then let go. So this was kind of a cool section. Interest mixed with transition. Bryce makes his way to the tower. He meets Kettle. Kettle shows him some shit. The cuteness of Kettle here, like, I can only count to 8 and 2. It reminded me of the innocence of children and some of the things they do and say. So I think it was a nice addition. It doesn't give off incompetence, but just rather she died at a young age, which makes it sadder.
Yeah.
This part where she like takes him by the hand, and it didn't dawn on me until I started summarizing, but I definitely think that Kettle is the keeper of the Azath. It seems that way based on conversations prior to this point. We've alluded to that, so no real big secret here, but I don't think I really caught it until, and again, when I'm reading this book and these chapters, I feel like I'm constantly thinking about the other 4 books. This part kind of reminded me of Dead House Gates with Moby a little bit, how he becomes the keeper of the dead house.
I guess I did not really think about that at all, but an interesting thought.
It's funny that it would pick a child, though. Why would the child be the keeper of the Azath?
I don't know.
Like, it makes me think that there's some significance to Kettle and her story.
Maybe she's one of the 3 sisters.
Maybe. This is kind of related to that, so it's a nice segue. I'm going to not caveat, but I'm going to preface this that this is probably extremely outlandish. I don't 100% believe in it, but it would be really fucking cool. I'm imagining this barrel, and there's this lone tree on it, and the tree itself is gray with a mixture of black streaks, right? And the twigs and branches have a curvature instead of like your abrupt angles. That's what I'm envisioning in my mind. The gray and black, I guess the base coat of gray, make me think Edur, but also because it's gray mixed with black streaks, makes me think Sakul Ankadu, the fickle sister, the dappled sister. The curvature and the angled thing is purely an art thing, because the tree being strangely curved gives me the impression of female anatomy, where it's very curvy, right? And hard angles would usually be there to represent male figures. And I'm just kind of wondering, is there a connection between this very feminine tree that is dappled and Sakul Ankadu?
If we don't get any sort of answer, you should mark that question to ask Steve for sure.
You like that? I feel like that is super outlandish.
Maybe, but I don't know where the hell you pulled that from, because it's your artist brain, dude, because I never would have drawn those dots together. And I think that's cool. Even if it's not right.
Right.
It's a cool connection.
And it's one of those things where even like my next thought is they talk about how he wants to talk to Kettle's like grown-up friends, right? And so that kind of went my theory with the tree. But then again, I started thinking, I'm like, we're talking about someone stuck in a tree, right? Which could still be the dappled sister, maybe holding him at bay. Maybe that is the reason why Silchus can't get out.
Interesting.
Yeah, just saying.
I don't have anything in addition I can add to that conversation, man. I think that's cool.
I mean, like I said, it was a very transitional section with a lot of cool elements in it. And those were just some of the things that I picked out. That's it. That's it. I promise.
You ready here for this section? This, I think, was the coolest section in the chapter. So
I'm a little jealous that you got it. But that's all good. Can't always be one way or the other, right?
I hope I did it justice in your eyes.
I'm sure you will.
The sky above him transformed, and a sickly green light swirling around a black wound big enough to swallow the moon. Clouds twisted and were shorn by the descent of numerous objects, each one of them seeming to fight the air as they fell. Objects poured out of the wound, tunneling through layers of the sky. The landscape before him was a vast city rising up from a level plain with tier gardens and raised walkways. Farmland surrounded the city as far as breeze could see, strange shadows floating over as he watched. Before him, steep steps ran downward, row after row. He was on a flat-top pyramid of some sort, and someone was standing next to him, barely visible. It was tall and was looking to the sky, focused on that terrible dark wound. Objects were hitting the ground, landing hard, but not with the velocity they should have had. There was a loud crack, and Bree saw some sort of weird beast-like statue come to rest, its two massive arms converging on its penis. Shoulders and head looked like a bowl, and there was a second set of legs wrapped around the figure. Yep, you guessed it, Justin. It's a sex statue. Nearby, but not far enough away that Breeze couldn't read, there were tablets strewn across the ground. Buildings were destroyed or being destroyed. There were animals dead and scattered everywhere. Something he thought that might have been goats turned inside out, and now something huge was coming through the wound. No, Justin, it isn't another dick. It screamed in pain, and there were soft words in Bree's mind. My ghost, let loose to wander, perhaps to witness. They warred against Calor. It was a worthy cause. But what have they done here? Breeze could not look away from the howling sphere of lightning. He could see limbs within, burning arcs that looked like chains entwined. Breeze asked what it was. The voice told him it was a god in its own realm. It was locked in a war against rival gods and temptations. Breeze asked if it was a vision of the past. The figure said the past lives on. There is no way of knowing, standing here. How do we measure the beginning, the end, for all of us? Yesterday was as today, and it will be tomorrow. We are not aware, or perhaps we were, yet choose for convenience, for peace of mind, not to see, not to think. The figure made a vague gesture with its hand and kept talking. Some say 12 mages, others say 7. It doesn't matter, for they are about to become dust. The massive sphere was going to hit the city, Breeze noticed. The man kept talking. Thus, in their effort to enforce a change upon the scheme, they annihilated themselves and their own civilization. Breeze said they failed. The figure said nothing for a time. As the descending gods struck, there was a blinding flash and detonation. The pyramid shook. The figure spoke again. In answer to perceived desperation fueled by seething rage, they called down a god and died with the effort. Does that mean they failed with their gambit? No, I do not speak of Calor. I speak of their helplessness, which gave rise to their desire for change. Breeze Benedict, were there ghosts standing with us now, here in the future world where our flesh resides, thus able to see what their deed has wrought? They would recognize that all they sought has come to pass. That which was chained to the earth has twisted the walls of its prison. Beyond recognition, its poison has spread out and infected the world and all who dwell upon it. Breeze said he was left without hope. The figure said he was sorry for that, and not to look for hope among his leaders. Their interest only extended so far as they could control them. They seek duty and obedience from him and would appeal to him with language that would stir faith. They want followers, and woe to those who question or challenge them. It is the same, civilization after civilization. The world falls to tyranny with a whisper. Those that are frightened are ever keen to bow to a perceived necessity, in that belief that necessity forces conformity, and with conformity, a certain stability. In a world shaped to conformity, dissidence stands out, and those are easily branded and dealt with. There is no multitude of perspectives, no dialogue. The victim assumes the face of the tyrant, self-righteous and instagnant, intransigent, and wars breed like vermin, and people die. Breeze watched the firestorm consume the city that was once beautiful. He didn't know its name or what civilization, and it suddenly came to him that it didn't matter. The figure told Breeze in his world the prophecy approached its horizon. An emperor shall rise, and that Breeze was from a civilization that sees war as an extension of economics. Breeze said some see it that way. The figure said it was irrelevant, as their legacy of crushed cultures speaks its own truth. They intend to conquer the Teist Edur. They claim that each circumstance is unique and different, but that isn't the case at all. It's all the same, and the military might proves the virtue of the cause. But he would tell Breeze this: there is no such thing as destiny. Victory is not inevitable. The enemy lays in wait, without need for a disguise. It speaks the same language, takes your words and uses them against you. It mocks your belief in truth, for it has made themselves the arbiter of those truths. Bree said leather is not a tyranny. He was cut off, and the figure told him he assumed the spirit of his civilization is personified at their benign king. It is not. Their king exists because it is deemed appropriate. They are ruled by greed. A monstrous tyrant lit gold with glory, and it cannot be defeated, only annihilated. That is their only hope for salvation, for greed kills itself when there is nothing left to hoard. The god is fallen. He crouches now, seeding devastation. Rise and fall with each renewal, the guiding spirit is less, weaker, more tightly chained to a vision bereft of hope. Breeze asked why this god did this to them. The figure said because all it knows is pain and yearns to share it with all that lives, all that exists. Breeze asked why the figure showed him this. Breeze was told was made to a witness to the symbol of their demise. Breeze asked why. The figure was silent before speaking, saying he had advised him not to seek hope from his leaders because they would feed him bullshit. But hope still exists. Seek it in the one who stands at his side, from the stranger on the other side of the street. Hope persists, and its voice is compassion and honest doubt. The scene began to fade. The figure said this is all he would tell him, all he could tell him.
Oh, such a powerful section.
Yeah, this was really cool, and I think when I was summarizing, I left off with my last section and then read your previous section. So when I started summarizing this, I was like, "What the fuck is going on here? This doesn't make any sense." So I was like, "I don't know what's going on here." And then, like right off the bat here, I was like, "Oh, I get it. This is Breeze talking with whoever it was that Kettle facilitated or whatever." So yeah, it just took me a minute to like kind of get my bearings again, and like, "Oh, okay."
It came fast. It really did. Takes you by surprise. Because you're not, I mean, again, you're not expecting to witness the fall of the crippled god, right?
No, dude, and it was awesome. Like it was so sweet seeing this. Like I would love to see this in like some form on the screen, live action, animated. I like. I was kind of against like an animated thing, but I think like if that was the only way we were going to get some like Malazan like TV show or movie or something, I'm over it. Like I would get down with an animated thing done in the right style.
Right. But what's the right style? I mean, I think
For me,
too cartoony is probably not okay, but more like realistic cartoony, if that makes any type of sense. Like
for me, it would need to be done like Predator, Killer of Killers. It would need to be that style, I
Gotcha.
think. I
So
don't know
then,
what it's
like,
called,
toon
but
shader.
sure, maybe. I don't know. If I don't know if you've watched that.
I haven't, but I think I've seen screenshots of it, and it's something that most studios do to make their 3D models look cartoony. It's a material that they slap on there that makes it look flatter, I guess you could say.
Gotcha. But yeah, I would love to see that just Breeze on top of this pyramid with like this ghostly type figure. Like that would be, and just all this shit raining down from the sky. Like that would be so cool.
It says that at the very beginning, a sickly green light swirling around a big black wound. Well, what does that green light remind you of?
The jade statue. I was gonna get to that because like it's somewhere in there. No, you're good. I can bring it up now because it talks about like how we could see like arms, and all I could think of was that in Memories of Ice or House of Chains where we got that where
House of Chains.
because yeah, it was Heberick. He was like seeing all these statues floating through space and the people trapped inside of them.
Yep. Yep.
Such a fucked up thing.
Kind of.
Yeah. But then we get this statue and its arms are just holding its dick, and I'm just like, why?
It was a weird
why?
segue. Yeah. I think that it's supposed to. I mean, clearly it's a city, right? And I mean, I guess we can get to it now, but if you recall from the prologue of Memories of Ice, this is the Imperial Warren.
That's opening up.
No, that the crippled god, falls on, right? Like these 7 or 12 sorcerers, however many are actually there, called upon the crippled god to essentially take out Calor, right? And end up destroying themselves and the city. And then in the prologue of Memories of Ice, if I'm recollecting, Nightchill or Sister of Cold Nights, Cruel, and Draconis all like bottle it up and make it the Imperial Warren. And as
Yeah, so I don't think this is it quite yet.
well, this is the part that like reminded me of that. It's it doesn't matter. They are about to become dust. While the Imperial Warren is what?
Dust.
Dusty.
But I don't think like this. So we're seeing wherever, what is it, Jakaruku or whatever the continent was. Because I think that continent still exists. They just take everything and like suck it up like a vacuum and create the Imperial Warren.
Right. Yeah.
Gotcha.
I think Jakaruku was probably an extension of Raraku in some way, shape, or form.
Maybe.
But yeah, anyway, it's cool how like these things are connecting to stuff. So I just wanted to call that out while we were talking about the demise of the city.
Yes. Also, while I'm thinking, well, I guess it's kind of down. This is probably more applicable here, but I cannot remember the dude's name, the god's name. Who's the one with like he is the Warrens, like it's his veins and stuff. That's got to be who Breeze is talking to, right? Like, is that what you thought?
Maybe. I mean, again, it kind of seems like he's the one who's putting things in motion to thwart the crippled god. But I almost kind of feel like this ghost that he's talking to is one of the sorcerers that called upon the god. The very first thing that he says to Bryce, "My ghost, let loose to wander, perhaps to witness, they ward against Calor. My ghost let loose to wander, perhaps to witness." But again, this could very well be Silch's ruin. Because my ghost let loose to wander, right? Like, I kind of get the sense that this dweller and the Azath made a bargain. How old this bargain is, I don't know. According to this, he was let loose in an agreement to keep things at bay because the Azath knew it would eventually die. I mean, I don't
know. Yeah. Sorry, man. I don't know either.
Good.
We'll see. My next thought here, I was a little hot when I was like reading this and got in a mood, but Bree says he's left without hope, and the ghost is like, "Oh, I'm sorry about that, but don't look to your leaders for hope. They just want to control you and all that type of crap." And it says it's the same time after time, right? Civilization after civilization, the world falls to tyranny with a whisper. And those that are frightened, they bow down to necessity to basically make things stable. Blah 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 blah. And then those that don't do that fight against it, they're the ones that are the scapegoats, right? And I just again, I feel all this, and it's just, especially for you and I, it seems so relevant because of what happened here, right?
Yeah.
But I don't believe this at the same time, because I think if you get enough people to stand together, you can overthrow the tyrants, right?
Yeah.
We did it here. We did it here. It's not the first time it's been done in our country. We did it back in the 1700s or whatever, the Revolutionary War and all that type of stuff too. But you just got to get that one first person to stand up, and you're going to get others, and it's going to grow. It'll be infectious, and we don't back down from that type of thing here, and that's something I always be proud of. We'll fight back.
It also works on the other side too, right? It just takes one person to get a gathering, Rulad, Sengar, to follow, even if it's not for the right purpose. If it is for tyranny,
I suppose that's true. There is that other side of the coin as well. And I guess maybe I'm just here for the chaos. I'm just here to watch it because I do undeniably I believe in good, but reading this, Yeah, I want to watch some shit happen. We're gonna get some shit that happens, I'm sure of it, but we'll see
Yeah.
what happens.
And, I think it just speaks to, he says, like, it's the same civilization after civilization. The world falls to tyranny with a whisper.
Yep.
It kind of
But
gives me that
that's
vibe of, like, you're doomed to repeat it if you don't listen to history, right? Like, whatever that saying is.
but it doesn't have to be that way.
Exactly. I totally agree.
And then my last thought here on this section, this ghost is telling the Breeze, but hope still exists. And as soon as I started reading this, like, I just got major Lord of the Rings vibes. And maybe it's just because, like, I just finished the second book, but the scene that I'm thinking of takes place in the Fellowship of the Ring, the book, the movie. But, like, you get Galadriel talking to Frodo in Lothlorien. He wants to give her the ring, and she's like, no, can't do that. But hope exists. Seek it in one who stands at your side. The stranger on the other side of the street. Hope persists. It's the voice of compassion. It's just reminds me that there is good in the world. You just might have to look a little harder than you should have to find it.
Yeah. I haven't seen Lord of the Rings, nor have I read it yet. It's on my TBR, so hopefully eventually I'll get to it. But this part where hope persists and its voice is compassion and honest doubt, that makes me think of Charles Sengar, like 100%. Because I don't think his doubt is malicious. I think it's filled with compassion.
Sure. Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
All right. Ready to move on?
Yes, sir.
He opened his eyes. He found himself standing next to the barrow. The day descending into evening, Kettle still held his hand. She asked if he would help her now. Bryce said that the dweller in the tomb spoke nothing of that. She said that he never does. Bryce continued on to say that he didn't show anything about himself. Bryce doesn't even know who or what he is. He made no effort to convince him, but he did see. Kettle said that he needs help escaping the tomb. Other things are trying to get free, and not long from now they will. They want to hurt her and everyone else. Bryce asked what he could do. Kettle said that he needs 2 swords. The best iron there is, straight blades and dual-edged, with narrow hilts and heavy pommels. Bryce considered for a moment and then said he could possibly make that happen, and asked if he should bring them back here. Kettle nodded. Bryce thought to himself that the apparition needed to help, but didn't ask for it. Benedict said that he would do this, but would speak to the Ceda about it. Kettle said that the dweller wants to know if the Ceda could be trusted. Bryce began to speak, but then thought about the dweller in the barrow, and he wanted to reply yes, but the dweller had a power that couldn't be controlled. There would be nothing that would please the Ceda. Did Bryce even have a choice, though? The Ceda had sent him here to discover the reason for the death of the Azath. He looked over at the tower and asked Kettle if it was dead. Kettle replied that it was, and that it was too old and too weak, and it had fought for too long. The Finad asked the child if she still was killing people. She said that she wasn't killing many, only bad people, 1 or 2 a night. She explains that some of the trees are still alive, but they can't feed off the tower's blood anymore. So she gives them other blood, so they can continue to fight the monsters trying to break free. Even those trees are dying. Bryce said all right, he would get the swords and then come back. Kettle said that she knew she would like him. She knew he would be nice, just like his brother. He frowned and then let go of her cold hand and told her to be careful. I didn't particularly have any thoughts on this particular section. I think that it's just kind of elaborating on some things that we know, as well as transitioning Bryce back to the Ceda.
Gotcha. Yeah, I don't have anything to add on your section either.
All right. Well, shall we?
We shall. Tahol said it was a good sleep, and Bug said he was sure it was, but he reminded him that he had asked for this meeting. Tahol said he wasn't expecting such a quick response and wondered if Bug said or did something that piqued their interest. Bug said damn right he did, otherwise they wouldn't have gotten the meeting. Tahol assumed Bug had dropped his name. Bug said that wasn't the case. Tahol then assumed he gave them something of his plan. Bug said no to that too. Tohol asked what he did then. Bug said he told them money was no consideration. Tohol asked what he thought he was willing to pay them. Bug said he didn't know because he had no idea on the nature of the contract he was looking for with the Rat Catchers Guild. Tohol said he hadn't decided yet. Bug asked if he had now decided. Tohol said he was thinking on it and might come up with something by the time they arrive. Bug said it could be expensive. Tohol said he was right. It could be, which was why money wasn't a consideration. And he was glad they agreed. He even told Bug he was a good manservant. Before long, they were at the scale house, and Tohol gazed on all the different rats. Tohol said they were looking at him, and Bug said they did give off that impression. Tohol didn't like being their focus and wondered what they knew that he didn't. Bug didn't think much, and after a few silent moments, Bug said they should go inside. The same secretary from this morning appeared to be working on the same ledger and said they were early. He expected them to be on time. Tohol said they weren't early, and the secretary was surprised. Tohol said if he kept talking, then they would be late. The secretary said he wasn't to blame and never was at any time in this ridiculous conversation. Head to the top of the stairs. There's only one door. Knock, then enter. He said Bug could stay with him as long as he didn't poke him in the eyes again. Tohol said Bug wasn't staying downstairs, and the secretary told them to get going. Once they left, Tohol asked Bug if he really poked him in the eye. Bug said he thought it would get his attention. Tohol said he was happy, but also kind of surprised about it. Bug said it was warranted. Tohol asked if that happened often, and Bug said yes. They reached the top of the stairs and went in. In the chamber were more rats. Rats everywhere. Thousands of them, and all their beady little eyes looking at him. In addition to the 3 men and 2 women in the guild. Tohol tried to introduce himself, but was cut off by a woman. She knew who he was. The woman had at least 3 rats in her hair. Tohol said he was curious. What were all the rats doing here? One of the men said that was a stupid question. They're the Rat Catchers Guild. Where else were they supposed to keep them? Tohol said he thought they killed them? The man said they only killed them if they refused a vowel. Tohol asked how rats made vows. The woman named Onyx said that was none of his business. Next to her was Skint, and before him was Champion Ormley, Gliston, Bubbard, and Ruby, and they had suffered losses on their investments thanks to Tohol. Tohol said he was sure they had recovered. They told him that wasn't the point. Tohol said by his recollection they had lost about half a peak. Skint wanted to know how he knew that. Nobody knew that. Tohol said it was only a guess, but the contract he offered was the same amount. They exclaimed at the amount. Half a peak? Tohol said now that he had their attention. Ormley said that was an absurd amount. What did he want them to do? Conquer Colonnades? Tohol asked if they could. Ormley scowled and asked why they would want him. I screwed that sentence up. Ormley scowled and asked why he would want them to do that. Gliston said it would be difficult and a strain on resources. Skint said it would be hard, but not impossible. Tohol said he wasn't actually interested in Colonnades. Onyx said he was always changing his mind, and she didn't like working for people like that. Tohol said he didn't change his mind. He never brought it up. Colonnades, that was. That was Ormley. Onyx said he couldn't make up his mind either, so they were perfect for each other. Tohol said he wasn't indecisive, was he? He asked Bug to back him up, who was silent on the matter, then said he was thinking. Gliston spoke up and said she didn't know what the point of this was. Tohol said that was understandable. Ormley said to explain his contract, and to keep in mind they don't do private functions. Tohol said he didn't know what that meant. Ormley said he wouldn't explain unless it was relevant. Tohol said that was his point, and the contract was complicated. Gliston said she didn't like the sound of this. Tohol said he was surprised, and he thought the guild thrived on complications, since they did more than harvest rats. In fact, they were mostly an unofficial assassins guild, weren't they? Unofficial because that was outlawed in the city, and besides the fact it's unpleasant. And they are also something like a thieves guild, though they hadn't reached full compliance among the more independent-minded thieves. And they also function as an underground railroad for the poor refugees from assimilated border tribes. Onyx yelled at him to stop and told Bubbard to get the chief investigator in here. If anyone needed investigating, it was Tohol. He asked if it would be painful. She told him to hold his horses and he would soon find out. Tahol asked if it was wise to threaten a potential employer. She didn't see why not. She said what he knew of their organization was alarming and that she didn't like it. Tahol said they admired them and his contract was contingent on him knowing the full range of the guild's activities. He couldn't make it without prior knowledge, could he? Ormley said how could they know? They hadn't heard it yet. Tahol said he was getting there. Behind Tahol, the door opened, and the woman he assumed was the chief investigator walked in. Onyx addressed the investigator and named her Rucket, and said before her was a dangerous liability. She was dressed in a southern Narek style. She looked at Tahol and asked if she was serious about him being a threat. Onyx said yes. It wasn't his servant. Rucket thought Bug looked more threatening. Bubbard agreed and said he had poked his secretary in the eye and that he had revealed the illusion. Tahol turned to Bug and asked if they would make it out alive. Bug said it was hard to say, and Tahol said this is all because he poked someone in the eye, and Bug only shrugged. Bug said it was time to get on with the offer, and Tahol said that was a good idea. A diversion. Onyx called them idiots, saying they could hear them. Tahol said good. He needed every refugee ushered out of the city to the islands. More details would be coming, and he needed full resources sent before them. Supplies he would buy himself. They would work with Bug on the logistics. Next, he understood they were doing an investigation on the disappearances for the crown. He was sure they weren't telling them anything if it turned up. However, Tahol wanted to know what they found. Third, he wants his back protected. There would be people who want to kill him. They need to stop them. So, his contract offer, half a peak, and a list of safe investments. And to the last point, he suggests they follow his financial advice to the letter and swallow the expense. Onyx said he wanted to be their financial advisor. The losses, Tahol cut her off and said they could have been avoided if they were in a closer relationship as they are about to be in now. Ormley asked about the refugees who were indebted. If they all disappeared, it would crash the tolls. Tahol said it wouldn't because the trickle would be so slow that no one would notice. Ormley asked how they wouldn't notice, and Tahol said they would be distracted. Ormley said he had something ugly planned then. So what had happened the first time wasn't an accident. He had found himself with the string in his hand and he pulled it to see how much would unravel. He knew what he was doing. He was telling them he was the most dangerous man in leather. Why would they let him walk out of the chamber? Tahol said it was simple. This time he was taking his friends with. So, were they his friends? They asked what if the investigator started investigating right now. Tahol said his plan was already in motion, and if he is alive or dead, it's still happening, but if he's dead, then no one escapes what's coming. Onyx said to hold on. There was cost to this. If he was their financial advisor, it would cost them a quarter of a peak, so he pays them a half, and they pay a quarter. Skid asked if they came out ahead in this, as he bit the head off of a rat. He noticed everyone watching him and then stuck the rat corpse in his shirt for later. He apologized, saying he got carried away. Tahol asked Bug if he poked any of them in the eye, if any of them would complain, I think is what I was going for. Tahol asked if he could guess which three would complain. He said Ormley, Bubbard, and Rucket. Bug said he was impressed. Onyx asked what they were whispering about. Tahol smiled and asked if they accepted the offer. Woo! Couple long ones there.
That was definitely a long one for sure.
I didn't really have too many thoughts here. I mean, it's just kind of, this contract offer that's going on with the Rat Catchers Guild, and like Tahol, I kind of wonder why the Rat Catchers Guild. I would have thought that they would have killed the rats too, not just to keep them as pets. But then this dude eats one, so I don't know.
Maybe that one didn't avow.
I looked up that word, and it didn't really seem to fit, at least on the definition that I found. So maybe there's another definition too. I don't know. So I couldn't think of a better word to use, or maybe not a better word, but like a simpler word for summarizing purposes.
Oh, instead of avowal?
Yeah.
Pledge allegiance?
I guess that makes sense. I don't remember what the definition was that I found, but I was like, well, that seems weird. It doesn't even make sense. But.
Well, I mean, again, going back to that scene with Seren, Hall, and Baruch, when they essentially run into the apparition and all the rats swarming on the floor. Do you remember they're like, can you call off your creatures so we can pass? Or something along those lines. And he's like, these are not my creatures.
I don't know if I do remember that.
Yeah. I have let you down. I don't remember what chapter that was.
Oh, there was a first time.
Yeah, we called it. It was going to happen. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm just starting to see this as one giant story now instead of it being sectionalized like it is, you know?
Yeah.
But I do remember that scene.
Well, I don't really know what else to say on this section. Tahol's just pulling his string again. You know, he's just trying to line things up for his purposes.
But what is the ultimate goal in getting the rat catchers on board? Like, what is he trying to achieve with this?
Well, I think he wants them to get the refugees out. You know, they got the hidden pathways out or whatever.
So you know, at the beginning of the chapter, how they were talking about they need to create a distraction, but they haven't. But that distraction hasn't happened yet.
Yeah,
I think this is the distraction.
All the refugees leaving or disappearing, rather.
Yes, but also why? I think he's also trying to help the Rat Catchers Guild avoid financial ruin. Is what I think he's trying. He's taking them with him, right? So instead of them collapsing because they're a powerful entity, clearly he's trying to befriend them so that they don't fall in his plan.
I would assume he thinks he can use them then for something later.
Right. Exactly.
I don't know that it's just genuine, like the goodness of his heart or anything.
No, it's a means to an end for sure. It's funny how he's got this grand scheme, but he's relying on so many things operating outside of it. And when you do that, the risk of your plan coming to fruition decreases.
Sure, yeah.
But yeah, it was an incredibly long section with a lot of dialogue. Some weird shit as well. Some off-topic conversation. The one thing that when they're talking about the colonies, I could have swore that was in Blood Follows too. Some like
you could be right. I don't remember. Oh, wasn't there like
siege.
some badass dude from there?
Yeah, something like that.
Yep. It does. It looks like it took place there
Blood Follows?
or around there in the region.
I thought it was Lamentable Mole or something like that.
Maybe that's just a city in the region.
Oh well.
I think you were right though. Well,
okay. Well, should we move her on?
Yeah.
Bryce found the Ceda in his workroom, hunched over a dissected crab. He tells the Finad that the crab organs are strangely arranged, but admits the dissecting of the crab was a distraction from the events at hand. He sets the instruments down and asks Bryce what news he had for him. Bryce said that the Azath Tower was dead. Kuru Khan found a chair and sat in it, asking what physical evidence Bryce had for this statement. Bryce admits that he doesn't have much and explains that a child is a resident there and the tower has been speaking with her. The Ceda said the role of keeper. Well, that was odd that the Azath would choose a child, unless the original keeper was dead. Even that would be odd in itself. Bryce said that there was more. He explains that a resident within one of the barrows was given the role of protector. The child, Kettle, believes that this dweller is able to destroy the others to keep them from escaping the prisons. Kuru said that the hold made a bargain with this dweller and asked what Kettle knew of that resident. Bryce said that the resident speaks through her and is trapped, unable to go further, thus the Sakul Ankadu thing. He admits that he doesn't know the solution to that. He tells the Ceda that this resident also spoke with him. Kuru looked up and said that he spoke to Bryce in his mind. What did he show? Bryce shook his head and revealed that the resident made no effort to convince him of anything. Instead, he was made witness to an event he believes from long ago. Kuru Khan asked what kind of event. The king's champion said he witnessed the fall of a god by a cadre of sorcerers, none of whom survived the ordeal. Kwan's eyes widened at hearing this and asked if it was relevant. Bryce wondered if the Ceda knew of this event. Kuru said that he doesn't have enough knowledge of that particular event, but asks if the stranger was a witness to the event. Bryce said that he was, inadvertently. Kuru said that the stranger has lived for a very long time. The Finad asked if this made him dangerous. The Ceda said yes, and none could match his power. And if he's capable of destroying the rest of the Azath Yard, then what next? Bryce said that it was a huge assumption, as why would this resident hold true to the Azath's bargain when the Azath is now dead? Kuru said that the hold chose wisely and asked if Bryce had his doubts. Bryce said he wasn't sure, but told Ceda that the resident had asked for 2 swords, and he's inclined to honor that request. Ceda nodded and said that this resident needed just not any old sword, not even that of Lethery steel. No, they must go to his private hoard of weapons. Bryce said he wasn't aware that he had one. Kuru said of course he did, and asked Bryce for a moment. He walked back to a cauldron of boiling water where he had placed the crab earlier, grabbed some tongs, and pulled the crab out. He said it had cooked perfectly. He said it needed to cool, so while it did, follow him.
At the beginning of this reminds me of Aliens when Bishop is dissecting the facehugger. Not the beginning of Aliens, but that part of Aliens.
Yeah,
The beginning of the section reminds me of that part of Aliens. I'm having a hard time today. Sorry.
We're almost done. We're so close. It's been a minute since we recorded in the evening. Usually we record like in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Late morning, you know?
Yeah.
So I've kind of already talked about some of the things that I had pointed out. Again, it's not a lot to draw from because he's talking to the Ceda about his experience. Well, we've already talked about his experience, right? But I've mentioned this bargain a couple of times before. So I just kind of pointed that out, that this is where that comes from. This next thought that I had, Kuru says that he doesn't have enough knowledge of the event of the crippled god's fall, but asks if the stranger was witness to this event. And again, reminds me back to the prologue of Memories of Ice. And so I wonder if it really was cruel then. Maybe you were right. Maybe it is cruel. But then why would he be housed in an Azath?
Maybe we just don't know that part of the story yet.
Right, exactly. So there's definitely a lot of mystery, which I'm 100% digging. Those were my thoughts on that section.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Well, ready for my last one?
Let's do it.
All right. Breeze thought he knew every nook and cranny of the old palace, but the subterranean chambers the Ceda had led him through were new to him, although they passed no secret doors on the way. By his calculations, they were now under the river. They entered a low-ceilinged chamber filled with hundreds of weapons. Breeze asked why he had a private collection. The Ceda said most were antiques, and he was interested in the forging techniques, particularly those of foreign people. Also, there is sorcery invested into the weapons. Breeze asked if all of them were invested. Ceda said yes, and to put the one he was holding down, it was cursed. Kuru Kwan said they might have a problem. They were all cursed. Breeze said maybe he should just go to the regular armory. The Ceda said to be patient. It is the nature of the curse that allows them to possibly find a reasonable solution. He wanted 2 swords? Breeze asked why a sorcerer would curse a weapon. Kuru said most of the time it wasn't intentional. The iron resists, and the better the forging technique, the stronger the resistance is. Sorcery thrives on flaws, structural, physical, or metaphorical. He said they could look them over. The Ceda led him to a wall, and Breeze saw the perfect weapon, long and narrow-pointed and double-edged. It was Lethery steel, he said as he reached for it. Ceda said that was correct. It was the blue style, which was the earliest technique for Lethery steel. In some ways, it's better than what they make now, but has flaws in other areas. Breeze said the pommel needed to be replaced, but otherwise it was in good shape. Then he looked up and said it was cursed. Kuru said only so far as all blue style were. The blade's core is twisted wire, 5 braids of 60 strands each. The blue style is very flexible and almost unbreakable, but has one flaw. He asked Breeze to lightly touch the blade to another. A strange sound came from the sword and kept going. Kuru said depending where the sword was struck, the note would be different, but eventually it would ascend or descend towards the sword's core's own voice. Bree said it sounded like a dying goat. Kuru told him to look at the name on the sword. It was called Glory Goat. Bree said the curse seemed mostly harmless and wondered if there was any other sorcery to it. Kuru said he thinks it is self-sharpening, but the sword was a little oversized. Bree said that was good because the user would be tall. Kuru questioned this, saying, he was tall? Kuru handed him another sword, and Bree said it would be hard to wield. Kuru said it was named Surat Wept, and it was about 4 generations old, one of the last blue style, and it belonged to the king's champion of the time. Bree said Urudat. He had seen paintings of the big man. Kuru said he was reportedly very quick for his size. Breeze noted this was a left-handed weapon. Kuru said yes. Breeze said that was fine since the stranger wanted 2 swords, suggesting Kuru cut him off, saying that the man was ambidextrous. Breeze asked if it was invested. Kuru said it would shatter upon the wielder's death. Breeze said these would work. Kuru asked when he would deliver them, and Breeze said tomorrow. He didn't want to go there at night. He realized then he forgot to mention a detail about Kettle. She was more than a child. She was dead. And thanks to this careless omission, the Ceda's fear was not as strong as it should have been. So a crossroads was reached, and a path was taken. Again, not really a lot on this one. I thought it was interesting saying sorcery thrives on flaws, and it just made me think of the crippled god.
So do you think that's how he's like exploiting things?
What do you mean?
Well, the crippled god is all about flaws, right?
Yeah.
And if sorcery thrives on it, then he's catering a house full of flaws, which is going to naturally, based on this, make sorcery bend to its will.
Interesting. Maybe. It's a good thought.
Unrelated to this, one of this Kurt's is called the Glory Goats, right?
Yeah.
He wrote a story in like an anthology called Goats of Glory.
Yeah, we'll have to see if we can track that down.
So maybe, and I know it's set in the Malazan universe. So yeah, it's part of a larger book, another book filled with short stories from other fantasy authors. So I don't know if that's one we want to include in this world or not, but
It might be hard to track down too.
Yeah, I'll have to do some digging into that and see if I can't find it. Maybe there's a used copy somewhere.
I'm looking it up right now.
I wonder if that has something to do with this sword and maybe how Kuru Khan comes across it. Might be some cool backstory, you know?
Looks like, I don't know if you still can, I haven't clicked on anything, but it looks like you can maybe read it online for free.
Oh, that Reddit post?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
I'm not sure what the book is called that it's in, but
It looks like Sword and Sorcery Anthology, Swords and Dark Magic. And it has subsequently appeared in the Swords Against Darkness.
who is it? Do you have like a picture of it? Is it edited by Jonathan Strahan and Lou
Yep.
Anders? Is that what you're
Yep.
seeing? I mean, it's not the most unreasonably priced book.
I'm looking at the Dramatis Personae on the Malazan wiki, and Wither is listed as a person, but I don't recognize anybody else.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It looks like it takes place sometime after Bone Hunters, so let me look up Malazan reading order that we're kind of Goats of Glory.
Okay. So we haven't like passed. Well, we ready to wrap this one up?
Are we done with the thoughts on your last section?
I think so. Unless there's anything else we want to talk about.
I mean, not that I can think of. I mean, it's just moving the story along, right?
Yeah. And we get some kind of like cool stuff like about the sword and the noise it makes, and got us derailed on this Ghosts of Glory thing. So
Yeah, that's my bad, I guess.
no, that's okay. Because after you mentioned that, I did remember seeing that, but I wouldn't have thought about it if you didn't say it.
Yeah. All right, well, I guess I can take us home for sure.
Let's do it.
All right. The night was warm and pleasant. Tahol and Bug paused on the steps in front of Scale House. Tahol said that was exhausting, and he thinks that he'll go back to bed. Bug asked his master if he didn't want to eat first. Tahol asked if Bug had rounded up some grub. His servant said no. Tahol asked why did Bug even ask if he wanted to eat then. Bug simply said that it was because he was curious. Tahol put his fists on his hips and glared at his manservant. He told Bug that it wasn't him and that almost got him investigated back there. Bug was incredulous and questioned that. Tahol admits that it wasn't all him. It was Bug poking the eyes out of the secretary. Bug points out that it was he, his master, who had sent him there in the first place. Tahol explained that Bug had poked some eyes out. Bug said, okay, and admits that he regrets his actions. Tahol asked if he deeply regretted it. Bug said, fine, I deeply regret it. Tahol said that he was going back to bed and looked at the street and commented on how much of a mess it was. Bug said that if he had time, he would get around to cleaning it up. Tahol said that Bug should have time, as he didn't do much today. Bug admits that he didn't indeed do anything. Tahol said that this is what he thought. He pulled up his pants and suggested they get inside before something bad happens.
Do you think that Bug will ever get the mess cleaned up?
No, not at all. No, I think it's so funny how like Tahol undermines everything that like Bug does. And all he did was sleep all day. While Bug was doing all of this stuff.
All this running around and stuff, yeah.
But yeah, that was all I had.
Yeah, he's I don't know. I wonder what's gonna happen next with these two. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I also hope we get to go back to like Roulade and that side. I'm super excited for that. So
I mean, that's my guess is that's where it's gonna go. I wonder if we'll start to see Roulade's scheming or the crippled god scheme start to begin, and maybe there'll be some things that we could call out that we read in the other books.
Yeah. Well, I will say it was quite interesting that I had to go take care of a mouse issue while on this chapter. I would not have expected that, so that was fun.
Mm-hmm.
Destiny, I guess.
Mm-hmm. That's 100% what it is.
Destiny wasn't that a line in this chapter? Destiny is not real or something?
Something like that, yeah.
Or destiny is not inevitable, or victory was not inevitable, I think it was. I'm scrolling up trying to find it.
That mouse is going to elude your mouse trap.
Dude, it better not. I'm going to be pissed.
Maybe you'll just have to bite his head off.
I'm not going to do that. I don't know where the heck, I don't know what it came from, how it would have got in, but...
Downstairs, or?
Yeah, because our cats can't get down there right now. We've got a plastic barrier up, for the dust and stuff, so they can't get down there. And I don't even know if they were down there, if they would, go into hunting mode and try to get it.
They would. I don't know how successful they would be, but...
Yeah, I don't know. Well, another chapter wrapped up here, buddy. We did it again. Feels good.
Cheers.
I finished my beer earlier, but cheers.
This isn't a beer. It's cream soda. But it works.
This was just the can that I had. It's called Don't Go Into the Long Grass, and then it's got a dinosaur on it, so I thought of The Lost World.
I thought this is the exact same thing.
I'm sure that's what they were going for.
That's what I would say.
Well, man, Got anything else here tonight?
No, not at all. I feel like, it's a deceptive chapter in that kind of got to read it. Can't be discouraged by your first read through it.
Right, and that kind of was the first time, so I'm glad I read it the second time. I didn't read it a third time, but...
Makes sense.
All right, man. Well, let you enjoy the rest of your supper there. It was good chatting like always, and hope you have a good night.
Yeah, you too, buddy.
All right. Well, we'll read on, and we'll talk soon.
All right, sounds good, man.
Bye, dude.
Bye, man.
DMJ's Epic Quest. DMJ's Epic Quest. DMJ's Epic Quest. CNJ's 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 Epic Quest.